right?
Yep.
I think.
As far as I know.
As far as I've seen, Wizards currently leading the pack on the world record run, though I don't know in a race environment if that's going to hold true. This is definitely the kind of game where there's so many variables. I don't think we're going to know, even after the race, we're not really going to know which one's the best at this environment, but we're going to see somebody win, damn it. Somebody's got to take it. I don't know what it's going to be. Someone's going to get it, though.
It's about time. It's surprising that the only run that's really not on the leaderboard or doesn't really seem featured is Warrior. I'm kind of interested to know how that's going to go.
Yeah, the Knight's not up here at all.
Or yeah, Knight, sorry.
Fighter's clocking in at 20 minutes, which we keep talking about how that's got to be the best one. Theoretically, it should be. It's got a boss lock. It's got the jump kick speed move that it moves the fastest. Just straight up moves the fastest than everybody. Right out the gate can jump kick and fly. But where's the run? 20 minutes isn't bad though. It's not 16 though. That Wizard's really crushing it. The Wizard is really good at killing the boss. So that's why the Wizard's up there. The Archer doesn't really need anything. The Archer's right behind at 16 minutes and 20 seconds. We have a run with that one. So we're gonna watch 3 of those then. It's gonna take about an hour.
Yep.
So let's hop over to that. Alright. So I think we'll start with the let's go down the list. We'll start with the Fighter at 20 minutes and 23 seconds, and we'll see the Wizard run last.
It's amazing that Wizard turned out to be fastest, but I guess ultimately, if you get everything you need really early on, it's just going to be broken.
Yeah. I'm grabbing this video. There it is. Okay. So this is Moonberry. Moonberry 2 is their Twitch handle. Common speed bumper. we kind of took over the board for this game. It's mostly our community. There was somebody else running it on the side. I don't know if they're gonna participate with us now or not, but they had the world record before we stepped in with our race stuff.
Oops.
That quick turn is an interesting option. I think it varies whether you want that on or not. I think you do usually, unless you're playing the Archer, you might not. Underscore right away. Okay. Cool. By the way, we have 2 weeks left before the big race. It's on the 31st. So next week, you and me gonna play co-op. Is that the plan? We're gonna do a couple co-op runs.
I think we should be able to, yeah.
That was fun. I've done that with Ty Tuesday already. We won one run. I died on the final boss, but he pulled it off. We got him. I'll tell you this: co-op is interesting because it doubles the HP of every enemy, but it also doubles the XP, which you don't share. So you end up getting the levels, and you can kind of lock up the enemy anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. But I was wondering if there was a way to manipulate that for a single-player run, like get player 2 killed and take advantage of the boosted XP. I don't think there is though, because I think a warp scroll resets the HP values and the XP values. If you could level up quick and then reset it, maybe, but I couldn't come up with any plan that made that make sense. So because of that, I don't think that bringing an ally along in your single-player run is good. I think it's going to make
it still feels like Fighter should be considerably faster. I'm honestly, I mean, it has been the fairly clear favorite for races because it seems more consistent, especially with the stun locks. But it's just really surprising to me that it hasn't really dominated the leaderboards. I guess we'll see a little more about what makes Wizard so special later.
I think I know. They probably got an early warp scroll and used it to get the big boss killing stuff, and after that happens, just playing it safe and getting to the exit. It's definitely a world record character because it's so vulnerable that I don't know you'd want to use it in a race. But when it succeeds, it really does well. I think the Archer's the most consistent. I was wondering about that, whether the Fighter would be overtaken by the Archer or not, and I think it might. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Archer win this. I think that's the most likely one to win, because you can't really lose if you play careful. And based on what we saw, what was it, last week we did a race? Was it just last week? It was a week or two ago.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
Yeah, so everyone died on that race. And if the Archer was done carefully, as it has been, they would have won that race easily, because sitting in the doorway and you know, but yeah, a fighter won last race, yeah. The fighter can lock up the boss, so once they get it, but they do need an item for that. The archer doesn't really need anything. We have crunched the damage numbers. I'll talk about the archer when we get there. The fighter shouldn't have any trouble beating the defense of the boss. It's like this: if the boss has 40 defense and you have 41 attack, you're hitting for 1. If you have 42 attack, you're hitting for 2. It's that kind of number. It's real simple math, but you don't know what the boss defense is in game. We have the numbers now, though, I think. So we know exactly what your attack needs to be, and it just so happens that the fighter is not going to have trouble overcoming the defense, I don't think, most of the time.
There's a little bit of variance as well, because every time you level up, your stats increase by a slightly random amount. So you can get really good rolls and be very well leveled up with only a few levels taken, or it could take you the full 20 to get to a good state.
So what we're seeing here is a lot of leveling up. The first 15 levels come at a pretty natural pace, and after that they kind of taper off. They taper off in value too. Level 16 through 20, pretty lousy compared to the 5 before it. So level 15 seems like the number to stop at, except for maybe the archer, because their attack really sucks. It's good against everything except for the big defense enemies, which includes the final boss, unfortunately. That's a problem. You gotta kill that. So it takes a long time for the archer to do that. The fighter usually hits for 4 or 5 at least on the boss, which isn't too bad. There's solutions though. There's Thunder Scrolls. I don't actually know off the top of my head how to make those, but you can make them with blank scrolls somehow. You can buy them, which is what's happening here. Thunder Scroll's really good. It's good against everything. It hits the whole room for like 40 damage. So a couple of those kill. I think 6 kills the gold form of the final boss. And 3 more, so 9 total would wipe the boss out instantly if you had that many.
Yeah, it's pretty doable to lean on scrolls to do most of your damage. You just have to have the numbers for them. A lot of runners have been using auto fire on the bookshelves to get a large number of blank scrolls, and then going through the process of actually converting them into Thunder Scrolls. It really does seem to pay off.
That right there is... This boss has like 100 health, and Thunder Scroll was employed to do half of its life, so that this wouldn't take so long. And a pretty bad place for items, and that's why they're hitting for 1, I think. Pretty nasty, pretty easy to die here. You can see this gets out of control pretty fast if they start hitting you. Since they don't have any items, they can't stun lock the boss like the fighter likes to do. So they're fighting this in as bad as a place as they can be. This is tough stuff. And it's honestly, if they found their weapon, I wonder if this 20-minute time wouldn't be like 18 minutes or less, because they're losing a lot of time here because of that. Just bad luck on the chest. This guy is taking a long time to kill, and he wouldn't if they had found an item, because the weapons do give you a considerable amount of damage. Yeah, you can control the games. I mean, if you get completely busted by RNG, you can still win. It's just, this is like worst case scenario right here. This is as bad as it gets, and we're still doing okay.
I mean, what it really comes down to is playing against the clock, right? Like, if all you're concerned about is finishing the run, then almost every situation is winnable for every single character.
Yeah.
But we're talking about trying to beat it in under 20 minutes.
There's consistency to most things. Like these enemies, these rats, they have the same attack pattern, they have the same XP drop, they drop money every time. They could drop the key on some floors, but there's set bosses every 3 or so floors that drop the key guaranteed. So there's controlled RNG to this. There's this too, there's techniques you can use, like any roguelike typically has some secrets you can exploit, and using this bookshelf to generate spells is one of them. One of the powerhouse moves. I don't know how to make Thunder Scrolls though. There's a way. It requires the Thunder Floor, I think. I don't know if you can reliably do it. Did somebody mention that technique? I'm looking.
Yeah, you have to drop a Thunder Scroll on a small pillar and on a Thunder Floor, which is 16 or 18.
I feel like that doesn't sound like something you can guarantee.
No.
I don't
It's
think
a
I see
gamble.
the small pillars very often. Yeah, let's name this technique power honking. That's fine with me. That's a fine name. So what they're doing, they have like a, what is it, like 5% chance of getting a scroll every time they talk to the bookshelf for some reason.
Yeah,
And
a low number.
yeah, it's not a greatly high number. We do allow auto fire for this, because it's such a button mashing thing. But getting at least one scroll this way is big. The thing is that you have a limited item space, but the scrolls stack, so there's... Moonberry's in a much better place now, having 10 of those than they were just in. They can really take advantage of that later. There's a starting weapon, don't want that. There's armor, that helps only defense. There's no, I don't think there's anything to gain out of that otherwise. This slime is one of the enemies who always has the key. You have to kill one of the little blobs, just one, and then the key will turn on. So that was the sound of the key turning on. I think the slime is worth a lot of money and XP, but it looks like they're not going to bother with the slime. Skeletons.
Yeah, I'm not sure I blame them. The more of them that you produce, the more likely one of them just dashes right into you and deals a ton of damage.
Here we see some iframe abuse. The doorways make you immortal, so they're carefully executing skeletons. The fighter has a lot of neat tech. That they start with the jump kick. They can jump off walls later. They can dodge fall damage with their shoe upgrade. They can throw enemies perpetually, and it interrupts everything, including iframes. It interrupts everything. So the fighter has the most upgrades, I think. The knight has a lot of upgrades too, but they're very, very hard to get comparatively. Like, you probably won't get them until late game, unfortunately, and that means you're going to be crawling along. And I think that's why I don't even have a knight record to watch. We're just watching 3. I don't think the knight's going to be a player.
Well, I think it's unlikely we'll see it in the race scenario. The question of whether or not it could do well in RTA is hard to say, but as a race, for sure, it'll end up probably just being fighter and archer again. I would be really surprised to see someone take a chance on wizard in a race scenario.
I think the problem with the knight is that at its best, it's maybe slightly better than the fighter without the stun lock. I mean, it has a down stab, so the stun lock that they're doing right now is incredible. Losing that.
You can actually also see one of the interesting things about the fighter's skill. So you can repeatedly throw an enemy to continue stunning them, and that's really useful. But I remember seeing in the Discord them talking about the fact that when you throw an enemy at another enemy, it uses that enemy's attack value to calculate damage. And so, for instance, in a situation where you may not have enough damage or enough attack power to deal a lot of damage against the final boss, you can throw an enemy at the final boss, and if that enemy has a higher attack power than you, it'll do a lot of damage, so.
Oh, nice. There's a 17-minute night run. You want to watch that one too? I didn't know about that. Yeah, there is an image. If you want to link it, I'll put it up on screen. I can't get it right now. There's an image of the boss being killed by one throw from a golem that hits it like 5 times. The golems hit for a truckload. The enemies all hit way harder than you ever hit at any point. So throwing them like that is an easy way to get the big numbers. Even in the worst situation where you only do one of the boss, you could do that. You could also have the golem kill a boss. It's much harder to set that up, but they have friendly fire in this game, and you can take advantage of that. 17 minutes is dang nice. No one's posted that on the speedrun board. We have this game up on speedrun.com right now. I'll link that.
I linked you to a GIF of a multi-hit, which is pretty interesting.
Okay, I'll grab that. Let's see here. Just gonna grab that real quick, then I'll turn your camera back on. Hold on a second. Okay, all set. Here we are in the land of slimes again. So if they threw that red skeleton, that's the way to do damage to that room. But that's a dangerous fella.
Okay, so opting to turn that into a fire scroll instead. Fire scrolls aren't bad. They deal... okay, so specifically just to get the best ring from that. Okay, that's nice. They gave it to that NPC who wanted... I thought that NPC was the one that wanted a warp scroll.
Did he not? He should want a warp scroll. Isn't that what they threw? I wasn't looking. I thought it was always...
Well, they made a fire scroll as well, so maybe they made a fire scroll and then threw a warp scroll.
Yeah, so on this floor 15, you're guaranteed your best weapon. If you haven't found it already, you can generate it. By killing that golem there, always drops a warp scroll. Or you can just give them one that you already have, if you still have one. And
that was a warp scroll, okay.
So you do have that safety, so if you were playing the knight and you didn't have your sword yet, this is when you'd have it, and you'd finally be in your element. You'd have down stab, quick stab, you'd have charge. The knight actually has a really neat tech. That's why I say it's comparably good to the fighter at that point, where you can charge slash and you get a boost moving forward. But if you jump while you do that, it's effectively the same as the jump kick. It's harder to do, but it moves the same way. Grabbed a black slime to throw at the red knight, I think. Oh, no. Grabbing the knight. Throwing him into the room with the slime. Here it is. Gonna try and do this. Oh no, killed the black slime!
Not quite.
That's too bad. Maybe the red slime? The red slime does way less damage. But there's 3 instead of 1. It's not quite worth it. Maybe there's a stronger enemy around to use. I think that's what they're looking for. The skeletons do hit pretty hard. Maybe you could take one of those. I don't know how that works. They might just be...
It's a shame you can't pick up ghosts. They do too much damage.
There's a thunder scroll for free. That's nice. Probably gonna use that right now. Yep. Big damage to the boss over here. This knight has 200 HP. It's a little less dangerous than the Black Knight, I felt like, but I might be just wrong. It might be exactly the same. I think it hits harder, but for some reason I had less trouble. I never seem to die to the red one. It's gonna take a little bit. It's possible that the last 5 minutes of this are gonna be slowly beating up on the bosses because we just didn't get the damage up.
Yeah, if you were playing this for your first try, I would say that the fighter's probably going to be the one that's ultimately easiest to win with. Maybe Archer. If you're not worried about how fast you do damage, the Archer's pretty safe.
The Archer's really good if you can grab a bow. I think the silver bow, the long bow, you only lose 1 attack power for it, and you get such speed that I think that probably is the easiest thing to do. The range is actually ranged, which is pretty big. Yeah, I feel like RNG was really nasty on this otherwise good run. That is a resurrection item there. I knew that they had it. It's effectively the Zelda Fairy. It's a full heal out of nowhere. Just everything's full when you die, so that red shield is very nice. This game also has elixirs, that is to say full mana and health potions for sale. You can have as many of them as you want, as you can get if you need them, if you feel like you want to have a safety. Those are nice. They're a little pricey at first, but you, at this point, could probably buy 7 to 8 of them if you wanted to. I think the speedrunner's going to spend their money on Thunder Scrolls, though, probably.
Yeah.
Black Knight's back.
Yeah. Especially because, you know, I think if you can find a ring or something as the fighter, that's a much better plan for how to deal with damage that you're taking than just buying a whole bunch of potions. You know, a life ring or a what's the one that balances the two so that you get a second health bar?
A healing ring. Yeah, that's the life ring.
Yeah, the life ring and then the power ring. Those are both really good for the fighter because they can help deal with incoming damage.
If you don't have one of the rings, you're not using your mana at all. We saw last round they hit for 17, but when they threw the golem, they threw the other knight, they hit for 35. And now they have to deal with the tiny golem, one of the most malicious bosses in this game, probably the worst one. The final boss is pretty vicious too in his own way, but I think this little golem is trouble. It's very fast. It swings really far. It's got a tiny hitbox. It has a lot of HP. It hits for like 40. We can stun on it though, and we're hitting for 7 now, which is pretty good. Not too bad at all. They're getting
Way better than 1.
Yeah, you don't want to see 1. That's the worst.
Just wailing on this guy in the corner. This guy's extremely mean usually. His attack has such a long range to it because he dashes as he attacks.
No key, that's weird. That's unlikely. I thought it was guaranteed. He's supposed to... Oh, there it is. Okay, that's the small pillar. We just generated all the Thunder Scrolls we need to win right there. There they are. I'll turn down Twitch's bitrate, see if I can't get it to relax. It was doing this to me earlier. Y'all missed the Thunder Scroll generation, maybe. It was just throwing them into a pillar. There's a lot of this iframe usage here. I don't think it's on my end. Zothabuz's feed is working, right?
It's hiccuped a few times on me, but it's been mostly stable.
Those golems. I don't know which one. I guess the golden ones are the strongest ones. They might be stronger than the little guy. The little guy only shows up one time, though. The golden ones could be on the boss floor.
That's true. And the gold ones are very keen to do friendly fire. I don't know what it is, but it feels like every time I see a gold one, they are getting into a fight with other golems.
The golems only attack when you attack, too. You could, there's the final boss. You just walk past. One of the things you run into in this game a lot that is frustrating, and I kind of hope they patch away at some point, and the devs very well might, is the key being struck when you don't want it to be. So on this floor where the final boss is, you absolutely don't want that. So I think what Moonberry did was a safety there. So now that this key is here, you can kill the boss in this room without hitting it. With Thunder Scrolls. So instant victory, that's your time, 2022, done. The game is making fun of you for not having the achievements, but otherwise, yeah. There it is.
Well, there it is.
Let me turn the bitrate down here. We'll wait a second, and I'm gonna put the image up on screen real quick. So here we see a regular weakest of the golems getting thrown into the boss and getting a multi-hit just because it bounced off the wall and came back. That did more than half of the boss's health. I know what the boss's HP is, and that boss is hurting real bad after that move.
Yeah. That's the fighter's real ace in the hole, since he's the only one who can really throw enemies, and just the way that it calculates damage is really interesting. You would think that it might be just a flat amount, or it would be based on the fighter's ability, but the fact that it uses the enemy's attack power to calculate damage really just negates the problems with maybe not being leveled up enough.
Okay, so next up we have Archer. 19 minutes, then Knight, and then Wizard is 16 minutes. Oh wait, the Archer's actually 16. Let's do the Knight now. Let me grab that.
Okay.
Okay, we got a YouTube feed for this one. Okay, here's your night run. Got it working. So I'm interested in how this goes. I bet warp scrolls are involved in this one. I don't see how they couldn't be. Because the knight is easily the most gear dependent of them. That... Did they already have a up sword? They're swinging really fast with that sword. I didn't know it was that fast. They must.
Is there maybe some way to cancel it that we don't know about?
Yeah, they do already have the sword upgrade. When did you get that? How'd you get that so fast? Heck, that's a light sword already. That is the good sword. Really early. Did you just get incredibly lucky and find one in the first chest? Because that's what it looks like. I didn't even see it.
When I was tinkering around with possibly speedrunning this, I tested to see like what the drops were from the first chest. I just wanted to see like what the distribution was. So I was just resetting over and over, trying to see if I could get a good weapon upgrade off of the first chest, and it is rare. It is very difficult to get a decent thing out of the first chest that you run into. So the fact that light sword was the first thing came across is just wild.
The knight is, it feels like one of the devs' favorites. It has the most gear, has the most upgrades. So this is even more rare than that. It's like a 1 in 5 out of the swords. If the swords are even distributed evenly, I don't know if they are or not, but this is the best of the swords. Gives you all the moves. That down stab apparently does way more damage than the... I didn't know that. It does way more damage than the regular attack. And there we see that charge dash I was talking about, which is a different move that you get from a different sword. But the light sword has everything. It's got all the moves, and it's got this ridiculous attack speed where you can even move while swinging. You move at like 30% speed, but you can do it while swinging. And you swing like, I don't know, 3 times faster than the regular attacks. So this is actually an incredibly lucky night run, and it's probably one of the best times you can get, just because that's the start. Like, I would say that you have to warp to go get this sword, and hope for it to be down there to get a world record, but if you've managed to get it already, that's wild. You gotta save a lot of time not warping. You gotta figure, I mean, the earliest possible warp would be a floor 1 warp, right? Would that even be possible?
Yep.
And that would be really lucky.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten a warp scroll on floor 1. I think every item is possible, but you have to keep in mind there's like 4 or 5 different types of scrolls. There's 3 different rings. There's all of your armor options. For the knight, there's a shield. And then there's armor types, sword types, every type of potion possible.
They got the boots for triple jump, and I think they don't take fall damage. I don't know if they move any faster. I think they might move a little faster. I'm not sure about that, though. Yeah, I was just seeing a lot of multi-hits. This is a really good run. We're seeing all the tech that I would expect a veteran player to be doing, really. This is the knight at its finest, and they got really lucky on top of that. So this is a world record, and does surprise me for the knight. But it's still not competing with the wizard's time, though. The knight surprisingly doesn't really have a lot more defense than like the fighter does. I think that's a surprise, really. They end up being about as durable. They have the shield to block with, but that doesn't really work very well. It's not like you can parry the enemies or anything. It's just that you hold this button down, you don't take damage from that direction kind of shield.
Yeah.
So it's not very exciting. I think picking it up and equipping it might give you some armor. Like, I'm not sure about that. But ultimately, you still will die in a couple hits with the knight. Don't be surprised if that happens. Getting caught up in the wrong place. We're seeing a lot of down stabs for that big damage. Yeah. That's interestingly big. The down stab's really good for getting that first hit on the enemy and stunning them, and then the fight's over. Yeah, I think any world record run is going to be pretty RNG lucky. From this point forward, anyway. Those are good times. So I think it's going to be hard to beat them without getting either probably a warp scroll at least, at the minimum, or your best weapon really early, just to take advantage of what that offers you in stats, let alone what it actually does for your abilities. The stats is It lets you kill the rat that takes 1 billion hits in like 6 instead of 20.
Don't have to climb on vines either because you got the boots already.
Yeah, triple jump. It took me a bit to figure out how the triple jump worked, but basically, at the arc of your jump and downwards, you can jump again. You can't mash the triple jump. You have to wait till you're falling. But it is functionally 3 jumps. A lot of height. See some more iframes here. No reason to take a risk here. It's not that much faster to manage. I compared the sword to the Chris in Symphony of the Night. I feel like it's just that good.
The light sword feels like it actually nears being as useful as sort of the combat abilities of other classes. Like when I did my warrior playthrough, I mean warrior's rough. Sorry, knight's rough. But once you get the light sword, the whole game just kind of feels like it smooths out a lot.
It gives you 2 tech, a sword that swings way faster and hits way more than all the other weapons. I think only one of the swords has more damage and it has none of the skills. And it swings really slow, so ultimately this is your best DPS by far. The only case where it wouldn't be is if you were hitting 1 with this and you were hitting like 3 or 4 with the other sword. Then you might consider, but even then, it would be tough. I think somebody crunched the numbers, I can't remember who, somebody crunched the numbers on exactly when you would want to use a weaker weapon that hit just slightly harder but had worse stats, less skills, less attack speed. And it's pretty much, are you hitting for 1? Okay, use that weapon. Any other time, use the best weapon you have, because
right.
Otherwise you're doing worse. If you can hit for 2 instead of 1, it's worth using the worst weapon. Otherwise,
right.
That's it. So really, it's are you just barely breaking the defense of the boss or not?
Yeah, the scaling always makes a lot more sense when you're capped at 1 for a weapon. You know, the fighter spends... I mean, because of the way that the damage calculation works, if your attack power is lower than the enemy's defense, then you are going to deal 1 damage. And so the calculus becomes really easy as soon as you find a weapon or you level up in such a way that you finally, your attack power is higher than the enemy's defense.
Firing multi-hits? I haven't really used the multi. I haven't really used that fire ring. It gives you a wave forward attack and it takes mana to use. It seemed hard to sustain. The only time I've really gone in on the mana attack is for the archer who gets a bow that takes mana to attack Pierce multi-hit. It's a good bow, but I think in the case of archer you want to hang on to your original bow just in case.
Yeah, archer's a strange case because the weapons feel like more of side grades than they do of upgrades.
Yeah, they're all different. The archer doesn't really need a lot of inventory. They don't have any they have boots, armor, and the bow, and that's it. They're not really needing much. You don't really need potions as much because you don't take as many hits. You don't need mana unless you're using that bow. Here comes the knights. So I don't think we're gonna see Knight in the race because no one's gonna want to gamble on requiring a warp scroll just to be able to play. I think the light sword has skills that the Knight should just dang start with. He shouldn't need this sword. He shouldn't swing so slow with his other weapons. He ought to have more defense. He just needs buff. He doesn't compare with the other classes, I don't think. I think the fighter does everything the Knight does, but better right off the gate.
I mean, I still think it's debatable, even if you could guarantee that you start off with a light sword, for instance. I mean, we know that Archer's faster, and Archer probably didn't even have as good of a start. And Fighter is very consistent, even if it's a little slower, which, in the race, what we really saw was that consistency was king. You know, Glumbaron ended up taking first place on a much slower run, but was playing kind of slow and steady throughout it. And ended up outlasting other players who game over during it.
That's that charge strike. very carefully dealing with these slimes. They drop a lot of money. I think that's the reason why you would want to fight these. Their XP isn't very great. It adds up to be a little bit. It's not a crazy amount, but you get a lot of money off of those individual kills. Enough for like a third of a potion. Which in my mind is a lot of money. It's a full heal. All those coins bouncing around add up to like 15 cents. But hey. Or 14. So there's the warp scroll guy. The fighter wants a warp scroll, and if you throw him one, you'll get your weapon. In this case, light sword.
Yeah, light sword is the preferred one for the knight, so that's the one you'll get there.
What does the knight give you when you give him a sword? I forget. We saw it at the start of this. I didn't see what he throws at you. Oh, is that where the boots came from?
I think he gives you your boots? I don't remember.
He's an NPC you just won't get to do on the other classes because you won't have a sword until you kill the final boss. The final boss's first form drops the only other sword in the game. The knight is the only one who will get sword drops in the normal case. So he's not even a part of your game. If you see the knight in the other runs, you're just gonna have to ignore him.
That gray golem is just over there chilling.
Yeah. The gray golem doesn't like that you're attacking things in his room.
That's his job.
We might see players skip the golems because they are optional. The wizard doesn't have to care though. The wizard has the advantage. The golem doesn't know what magic is, so it doesn't understand that it's being attacked. Piano. That's what that was. I thought I got a message or something. Piano, ding. Red Skull got away. On most of these floors, the key drop is random, and it's more likely that a strong enemy will have it, but it's not guaranteed. On most of these floors. But if you see an enemy who is unique, it's almost assuredly to have it. I mean, we know which floors are which for that key. You don't have to memorize that really, but it is helpful information. It's usually pretty visible. I think that Red Knight's gonna have it, for example, on this floor. This is the fire trap.
It can be useful if you don't need to level up anymore, because if you know that you're dealing with a floor, for instance, that requires a certain number of enemies to die, because the other trigger, aside from unique enemies, is usually an X number of enemies need to be killed. So if you know that you don't need to level up anymore, then you can focus just on either killing low-level enemies or on finding the unique enemy that needs to be killed.
Our knight's hurting a bit here. Looking for the tiny golem to turn on that key, I think is what's happening on this floor. And they found some armor. Alright. I'm a little concerned about the health situation. I mean, obviously they win this run. Maybe they buy a potion here for safety. Yeah, there's the full. The HS stands for health and SP, and it doesn't give you, it doesn't slack on that heal. It's a big heal. The mini I wouldn't mess around with much after like level 2, but I would just eat those when you find them and throw them away.
Yeah, the mini ones just take up inventory space, so you're absolutely right.
These HS ones are going to be a full heal though. We're seeing the fire ring get used here for multi-hit and pierce.
It's doing a lot of good work. I did not realize how effective the fire was.
It's expensive, but they're saving their HS potion because of the expense. It's not.
Also, like the knight doesn't have any other real good reason to use it anyway.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's 2 mana swing. It's not cheap, but it certainly works for these melee classes. I think the wizard benefits from it a lot, unless you want to actually use your spell too. Because that staff attack is the worst thing about the wizard. It's tough. Oh! That was close. 4 HP. Walked into a golem. There's the lock. Oh man. Cool. And in this
Everything
game-
falls apart so quickly in this game, but I guess that's true of most roguelikes.
Yeah, once you get going, you can usually bust those kind of games. I can't think of anywhere you can't do that in, really. They're all like that. Once a plateau has been cleared, you turn into a nightmare of your own. That's why I play them. That's always the fun part. That's why I play Isaac. Need a shot that takes up the whole screen and clears everything in it by the end of the game, or else I didn't win. Didn't really win. Golem room. Do you engage the golems? Looks like no. I'm gonna carefully leave that. Level 16. Very strong. On floor 20 here. We're gonna see it's not gonna be as fast as the last time, but we're gonna see a pretty quick clear here. There's the key. So again, want to be careful not to hit the key, or you're gonna have to look for the boss on a different floor, and I think that is random. Guaranteed on floor 20, and then after that, I don't think that you can very well guarantee the boss will show up.
Yeah, floor 20 is your one real shot at it.
The boss worked over there. We're hitting from 9 at the moment. The boss is trying to downstab, but they're getting juggled by the fire, which unfortunately only hits for 1. There it is. 17, 16 clear.
Well done.
In-game time 17 minutes. I don't know if we're going by in-game clock or not. On these times. I think people
That's
were
been
saying
a
they should.
point of, yeah, that's been a point of discussion in the Discord. Apparently, it pauses very briefly when you're between rooms and when you're transitioning between floors. So,
Yeah, I typically don't go by in-game time because I don't see why you would. It's always going to be less accurate than a real clock, but in this game in particular, it's not so bad. It's pretty close. Here's the Archer run. I'm interested in this one. I think this is going to be a competitor.
yeah, the nice thing about the Archer, first off, one of the easiest ways to die in this game is just enemies' erratic movement bumping into you. And so the Archer has a great benefit there, but also the Archer starts out dealing a lot more damage than really most other players do, so...
Ooh, got a res. The Archer has a slow rate of fire out the gate, but they have 2 types of fire. They have a range. They have control of their shot pretty well. They don't have auto aim or anything, but you can turn on slow turning if you really want to, so you have some options there for how you shoot. You can shoot up, you can shoot further by holding it in, you can jump and shoot. So the Archer has really just a couple armor upgrades that don't really do anything. They have boots, I think, that make them move faster. I think they're the only class that gets stunned by fall damage after having the boots. Their boots don't protect them from that, I think.
Is it the Archer that does that? I think you might be right. I think, because Fighter definitely doesn't take fall damage, and the Wizard definitely, or the Knight definitely doesn't. What was the Wizard that didn't get fall damage reduction? Or fall stun?
It's one of those two. It's either the Wizard or the Archer. The Wizard can float, so if it's the Wizard, it's not a problem at all. If you have your weapon, you can just fly whenever you want to. Especially when you're falling, you just tap the button. The Bubsy Glide. It really is the Bubsy Glide too. Like, it's just exactly that move where you ram into enemies. Okay, so the Archer does get that, then does not get false stun with the boots. So you're gonna want the boots on the Archer probably. Not mandatory, but it would be nice. There are 3 weapons for the Archer. I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say this bow they're using right now does something like 5 damage. The next bow does 4, and the last bow does 3. But the next bow does 4 damage and shoots really fast. And the bow after that can pierce for mana and also shoots a little faster. The fastest bow is the second one, so I think that's the bow you want. I think you want to grab that bow and probably Thunder Potion, Thunder Scrolls. It's probably the plan.
I think we've heard that from our players already as well, about how the middle bow is actually the preferable one. I'm sure there's lots of good reasons to use the magic bow, but the middle one, the long bow, works pretty consistently. So
not having to worry about your mana pool is a nice headache to not just throw away. I don't know if the fire ring would make up for that. I guess it would if you were really close range. I'm not sure how that interaction works. I'm pretty sure that it fires straight forward, not on the arrow. Like, you don't shoot fire arrows.
Right.
So you lose some of your range if you're doing that, I think. But that would be effectively the same thing as having Pierce Shot. Yeah, so this is your archer play. You sit in the doorway and you just kill the enemy safely. This works on everything, including the final boss. No matter how hard it is to kill the final boss, you can do that and not take any risk at all. Might be a slog, but it'll work. The archer really isn't that slow, though. There's the first bow upgrade. I think no, that's the bow we already have. It always throws me off because it's also silver.
The archer doesn't. The archer's a lot like the fighter. I feel like, where it kind of starts good and ends good. It's not bad, except for its damage doesn't scale great at the end. So you end up not being leveled up. No matter how much you level up, you're not going to be really doing good damage against the final boss.
Yeah, that's the problem. You're gonna show up at the final boss and be hidden for one. Very likely situation. That's just the archer's curse, it seems like. It's hard to get around that. I don't know what level you need to make up for that. And it's also got some randomness in your stat gain on top of everything else. So you can't even say what level. You're gonna need to look at your stat and see what your attack is. That's what you're gonna have to do. Which you can do in the start menu. You might want to grind an extra level or two if it makes a difference. But I think the easy solution is probably Thunder Scrolls. Either getting them made yourself or buying them.
I think one of the things that makes this this month's game so interesting is that because we're doing it as a race, we can sit here and talk about what's the optimal strat for each and every character, and almost all of this is useless information when it comes to the actual race. You just have to be good at the game. Because you're not necessarily going to get the weapons you need, you're not necessarily going to get the stats you need, but you do have to be flexible enough to come up with a plan, no matter what.
Yep, any roguelike race like this is going to have randomness in it, and you never know who's going to win. Anything could happen in this. That's part of the interesting thing about this one. I think it'll be fun. And that's why I say, if this game looks interesting to you at all, don't be intimidated by the world record run. This is as good as they get, and that's probably not what we're going to see.
Yeah. These types of runs are not what we saw last week, and I don't think they're what we'll see in 2 weeks either. Last week we had most of our racers dying at least once or twice before finally finishing.
Yeah, I would work on just being able to consistently win first, and then maybe at that point strategizing how to do it faster. But I think I'm able to consistently win at this point, but my runs take like 30 minutes.
But you know, if you can consistently win in 30 minutes, then that's probably a first place win for us, right?
It would have won last week's race. It's been a while since I've completely blew it, but it can easily happen when you walk in a doorway and just get hoisted. Me and Ty were doing co-op, and I don't know what was up with our luck, but we had the ghost on floor 1 guarding the key like 5 times, and that's not good. That's super rare, but for us it wasn't, and that is just like, you're just not gonna win this one, sorry. So we have a wizard run that's 40 seconds faster than this, roughly, to watch after this. Just a little bit faster. The archer was the world record before we started doing this. The original record that existed a couple of days before we picked this game up.
I feel like a lot's been learned since then, and I think that's probably true of anyone who's been playing it, not just the speed bumpers. You know, someone had a world record, but I don't know how much work was done to actually figure out damage numbers and damage calculation, and that information is actually actionable. It's not just sort of interesting details. Like, you can make use of that information. If you level up a few times and you see that you've gotten good rolls, then you can plan to level up less.
Yeah, I think the Archer's going to be probably the one you want to actually look at your attack stat on and make sure you're at the number you need. And I'm not sure exactly what that number is, but we have that information in Discord, and you can find out. You need... If you're going to kill the boss via arrows, you need to be strong enough to beat their defense. It would be better, I think, I'm almost certain that it would, to just grind out one more level than it would be to hit for 1 on the final boss. If you could bring that number up to 2 or 3, you're going to be hitting him. I think the boss has like 200 HP, 300 HP, so you're going to be saving like 4 minutes of time if you just level up a couple times. It just takes forever. It's bad to be doing that. You don't want to be in that situation where you lose a race because you didn't get 1 level. 45 defense. Yeah, your stats are pretty clearly displayed in the start menu, so you can find out what they are. And like I said, the levels kind of taper off at 15, so you can see less of a gain. But the Archer might be the one who cares about getting to 16 or 17 or higher. It gets harder to level up too. The XP is steeper, so it gets a little gross before too long. But you can go as many floors as you want. Maybe you don't want to end the game on 420 as the Archer. Maybe that's not the fastest way to do it.
Yeah, especially depending on whether or not you've still got some levels to gain, because you can't go above level 20. So whatever stats you have at that point, you're locked in.
Ooh, 1000 XP for the Blue Knight. I didn't know that. Can you kill the Blue Knight and then go to the next floor? And then fight him again and get another level? I know the Blue Knight has less defense than the Gold Knight, from what I just saw. Maybe that's the way to grind. Maybe that's the fastest way. Maybe you can surpass the Blue Knight's defense and grind until you're past the Gold Knight's defense. The golems are also worth a truckload of XP, but you do have to be the one who gets the killing blow on them, and they love to kill each other.
They really do hate each other, don't they?
They're huge.
It's amazing how often I've been fighting against 3 golems, only to get next to no experience because they delivered the killing blow on each other.
Working that slime down. See, the Archer takes a while to kill an enemy like this, but they can pretty safely do it. The risk is so much less. It's still there. You still don't have, like... Well, what would even be a safe amount? Defense is the biggest stat for sure, but I think if you had like 400 HP, I'd feel safe. You're never really safe in this game. You could easily get wiped out. There is the fighter. Do we want the light bow? The magic bow is what it's called in this. We get that here? Probably. Wouldn't surprise me. The short bow does more damage, though, so we would go from 23 to 21, I think, but we'd have a piercing shot, and in one shot, you'd kill all these skeletons. Basically, that's the difference for travel. Oh, unfortunately, they don't even get the opportunity. Hit the key. Oh, they got it anyway for free. Are they gonna use it or not? That's what I'm not sure about. They are. So there it is. I think at least for the enemies, it's a no-brainer that this is the best bow. Just look at that. Hardly any of the enemies are going to beat the attack of the Archer, so you're going to be hitting hard on the Archer on all of them. Class promotion. Fully upgraded. Just like that. It's against the boss that you might switch weapons, and not really anything else, unless you're out of mana or something. What a DPS game. You lose 1 MP per shot. It's really not very expensive. You have a lot of mana, so you are spending your SP on that, which is a pain, but it's not a dilemma. It's not the end of the world to be doing that. You just have to ration it out a little bit. Maybe grab an SP potion at some point. You might need 1 And you probably won't need more than one.
There's definitely enough potion drops that you got a decent chance of getting something to replenish.
I have mini SP potions drop all the time, which are 15 shots worth of SP. There's one right there. Speaking of that, they drop all the time. Most common potion, I think. I use those as soon as I pick them up, generally. There you go. So that kind of fall would have stunned.
I think that's one of the few drawbacks about this game. I really love this game, but I think one of the few drawbacks is that there's really just no overcoming being underleveled. If you don't have the levels you need, then you're just not going to do good damage. There's no like skills you can acquire. There's no techniques you can really learn that's going to mitigate the problem of I have to shoot 300 arrows at the final boss.
Yeah, it's just too steep of a number. The final boss has too much defense. I think the boss maybe comes in a little too early is the problem. Or they maybe the level cap is too low for the archer, so their damage or their attack should scale a little better. I think that it's to the game's detriment that a skilled player can't forego level grinding. Yeah. Floor 19. I think the game had in mind that you'd be trying to do all the achievements. I mean, the way it insults you for not doing them, for example, makes me feel that way. And I don't know what floor the doppelgangers are on, but I don't think we've seen them recently. Like the humans that you kill for an achievement. That's just one example. I don't think we've ever seen the Queen of the Rats show up, which requires a drain to kill.
I've never even seen the Rat Queen, period.
Yeah, I killed it one time. It took a drain scroll. It wouldn't take damage from anything else. I was beating on it for a long time. And then I killed it with the drain scroll. There's the locked chest achievement for the fairies. There's a couple other ones. We're out of mana. There's the final boss. Looks like we're going to be using the magic bow. The mana's getting filled back up. So currently we're hitting for 9. I don't think that's going to be the case on the next boss. I'm pretty sure they have more defense. We'll see though. HS potion, nice. They have mana as a result of this. Still not enough though, without a proper SP potion to kill the boss with magic shots. Skeletons. I think that's the long bow, the mid-tier bow. Surprised that didn't get picked up, though it was covered in skeletons. Okay, we're hitting for 5. Beautiful damage.
Okay.
I'm wondering what those numbers are exactly. Did you get lucky on rolls to get that high? Because I've seen the archer hit this boss for 1 so many times. That's big. That's a huge help. But that's realistic damage, right? 15 a shot, basically. The only problem here really is that the boss is falling down a pit, so you can't really hit him as much as you should be able to. Which is just bad luck on the rune generation. But you could move him if you really wanted to. In this case, it might actually be faster to die and get your mana back. With the charm. I think there's definitely a case for checking your stats on the archer and making sure it's good. And that's clear.
Wow. Just the difference in seeing 5 damage on that is night and day.
Okay, I'm gonna load up the wizard run on YouTube here. Current world record, under 16 minutes, really fast. And there it is. Okay, last one. We'll have seen all the class world records at this point. Nice.
The wizard is the fastest and the only one that I haven't watched yet, so I'm really interested in seeing how this is so fast.
They start out with miserable damage, a lousy spell, and it just scales up real fast. They never seem to really get very much safety, but there's the best weapon for them, so their damage got really high really fast with that, and also their spell changed, and also they can fly. So a lot of wizard upgrades just happened. That flight move is the glide. You can hit enemies with it. It's hard to do, but it does work. It's hard to do because if you land on top of an enemy in this game, it doesn't hurt them. Or it doesn't hurt you either. You just kind of are on top of them, and that's it. So it's same for if you glide on top of them. It doesn't hurt them. But there's the clunk. Their spell changed from that weird fire that gets dropped right in front of them to this nuclear bomb that just goes forward. You're kind of defenseless while you shoot it, so you have to be careful, but the damage that it does is incredible.
That's the only reason I couldn't ever get into the wizard class, is because the upgraded version of the spell felt so much harder to use appropriately.
You have to... I pretty much just fire it in the doorway most of the time. You gotta be careful with that. It's pretty cheap. I mean, its power is obvious. As soon as I use it, everyone in the chat goes excited about the fireworks that are happening, because it's definitely a wizard move compared to the weird... I don't know, it looks like a Castlevania torch. It's like the little holy waters.
Oh, like, yeah, little holy water.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It does multi-hit though, so it's not worthless. It's better than the main attack still, but...
I had kind of expected that Wizard would get away with, would do so well because of scroll generation, but I mean, they passed up a bookshelf, so...
The flight is free for the first engagement of it. Like, you can hover for free, but they had to use a little bit more, I think, there, which costs 1 mana to get height, and you can get as much height as you want. You can use 100 mana worth of flight and get up to the ceiling for as long as you have mana if you want to do it. So that's how that works. It's not free if you use it multiple times, but it is free for general use. You can just fly like that, and apparently you can get multiple hits. Apparently. That's tough to do. Warp Scroll has no value here. The problem with the Warp Scroll is that it sends you back to floor 1, so in a world record run, I don't think we're going to see it. Especially in the case of already having the best weapon.
In races, early Warp Scroll is going to probably make or break people's playthroughs.
I think
not necessarily in consistency, but in speed.
You can generate a Warp Scroll fairly easily. 1 scroll blank off of the bookshelf, drop it on top of the fountain, which are very common. I say that, but you might not find one. But they're supposed to be common. And as soon as you have one, you can make your Warp Scroll. I think the Warp Scroll is going to be a big part of the run for sure, yeah. Strategy would be, for me, to try and find one. Pretty conservative on the mana because it's 7 MP a shot. It would kill this guy in 1 hit, though. I think you would have saved time blasting him. But you're hitting really hard. Already, level 5. There's some flight. Proper flight. Wizard needs a couple levels, and once they get these levels, they just need to not die because they're going to kill everything. I think they do have the highest damage capacity in the game. And that is why they're able to keep up. Just pure damage. There. That boss I-framed the whole thing and still died. It's very wide, and it's going to hit multiple enemies. One interesting thing about when enemies run through a doorway like that is that they are always on the other side of the door. They never leave the doorway. So you can walk in after them and you know you can hit them as soon as you walk in. Okay, there's the power of that spell right there. Pretty well demonstrated.
Yeah, it works great if you can get enemies in a line. I think it'll be more obvious the way that it's useful when you get into those big hordes of skeletons that all jump on top of each other.
Skeleton Room's gonna be free money. I don't think it's worth resetting for a warp scroll. You're very likely to find one on the first couple floors. And if not, you're probably on a decent run anyway if you're still alive. So, you're guaranteed to get your weapon anyway at some point. It would just be nice to find one. I probably wouldn't use one on floor 6 or above because it would be too much of a loss of time at that point. Right there's the problem with the wizard. Hitting the key.
I'm not sure that I see any value to resetting. I mean, if you're gonna find what you need, you can find it on the first or the last floor. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, if the ghost is guarding the key on floor 1, I'd probably take a loss there, but otherwise I wouldn't reset. The wizard has the most trouble of anyone with the key showing up mid-spell because their spell connects to the key and hits it. And you're killing all those enemies with it, so it's incredibly likely that you're gonna see the key drop from your spell. So on a floor where you don't want that, you might not want to fire into a crowd. Your skeletons getting lined up. I can tell the strategy here. Yeah, that's what I do as well. You can make them line up and blast them. It should be noted that I don't think they got a lot of XP for that though, because the bodies have to disappear before you get it. So there's what you're talking about. They fired into 4 out of 5 enemies, clobbered them, but still took damage from the 5th enemy. Because the game continues to play while you're watching the fire go.
And it's frustrating.
It's dangerous. The spell is too powerful to ignore though. It's such an upgrade from the other one. You have to use it. I don't feel like there's an option here. I mean, the damage upgrade just from the weapon is forcing you.
Screw that Black Knight. Jesus.
Yeah. Mini-SP. Mini-SP will keep you going as long as you're not spamming it. Enough of those tend to drop. I think a lot of the wizard run's gonna be using the stick like this for... Obviously it hits really hard. I don't know why the wizard's so damn strong, but they are. They're hitting for 35 with their stick.
Very muscular wizard.
The game can't decide if it's a witch or a wizard either. It's a little weird. It wants to say wizard a lot. Here's the skeleton room.
For what it's worth, it's only the manual that says witch, right? And the manual wasn't even written by the dev. The manual was like created by someone else, I feel like.
Well, you equip the witch boots.
Oh, okay.
Also.
That's fair. Yeah, it's witch boots and wizard tunic, so yeah, I guess you have a point.
These slimes are gonna have a bad time. Alright. Oh, that's too bad. It's frustrating to not to be able to capitalize on that. If they patched anything in this game as like a hot fix, disabling the magic hitting the key would be one of the first things I would do if I were a dev. That's exactly what I would do on day 1 of my patching. I would try and...
Do you think that that makes it too easy?
For the wizard,
At that point?
not activating the key on magic would be really helpful for them. I think it would be way less frustrating. I think that's the biggest frustration for me playing the wizard.
Yeah. I wonder whether or not it would make it too easy. Like there's some risk in firing your magic spell off.
That's frustrating right there though. It should... All those skeletons
Have it lined up, ready to go.
The key being out front like that just barely stopped the 100 XP from coming in, which we see now was a level as we kill this guy. That was smart, leaving the room and the fire disappeared before the key showed up.
Yeah, that's well played.
Holding on to an HS potion. Health is really low. I know this is how the wizard's gonna be. This is why I'd be afraid to race as the wizard. It's so hard to stay alive. This game's already risky enough. I think the wizard has the hardest time surviving. I guess if you're if you're really spending a lot of mana on this spell, you're not gonna have trouble. Because everything's dead.
And you know they want to capitalize on that blue slime, but...
Yeah. How? Opportunity. Alright. Not too bad.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take that.
I get bit by slimes and such as the fighter all the time because of the range on the punch.
That's what I was saying, you know, if you're going to come into this race somewhat cold, I feel like Archer's really your best bet. It's not going to be your fastest choice every single time, but it's going to be consistent, right? Like you're gonna get to engage with enemies how you want to. Holy crap!
Yeah, that was great. So you can combo with that easily enough, and apparently that attack also doesn't set off the golem. So that's a wizard advantage for sure. Those are the most dangerous enemy in the game by far, and the wizard has a huge edge there on those. The whole category, every golem works the same way, even the one with the key. Pretty sure that it doesn't attack unless you do. That's good tech. So that move shows up on both wizard rods. You don't need the flying one to do it, I don't think. They both fly. In fact, I'm not really sure if there's any difference between the maybe you can't attack with the flight on the second one. Maybe that's the difference. But you do get flight on them both. I'm not sure if you can attack fly on the first upgrade.
Yeah, using the flight to deal damage, really, I mean, once you know how to harness that properly, it's not trivial to deal damage with that. But once you know how to harness it, it's really effective.
Making a lot of progress here. Floor 16. Getting close. There's the key. Gotta find the golem that holds it on this floor, I think. Pretty lucky on these HS potion drops. Though they probably would have bought some by now, so in that way they are unlucky they haven't found a store really, but they're getting a lot of, there's one. Getting a lot of drops. Oh, they don't have any money, heck. That's too bad. Buying a mini HP potion with the scraps of change. That hurts. Those potions are really expensive for no value. Those minis, they don't do anything. For another 10 cents or so, you can get a full heal, pretty much.
Seems like the damage output is already extremely good. I mean, I don't know enough about this class to be able to say for certain, but I feel like I'd be just trying to make a beeline for the boss at this point. I guess there's still more to be done, though.
That's what I would be doing. I think they, I don't think that the wizard's ever at a point where you're on floor 20 and not able to kill the boss quickly. I think they're ready, myself.
I mean, with a full mana bar, the magic doing as much as it does, I don't know if the magic makes the boss teleport, though. That's I guess, the only issue.
Looking for that key. So one interesting thing... Thanks for this, Guessworth. One interesting thing with the key... lost my train of thought. Heck. The locked chest key might be worth doing just because those locked chests keep showing up. If you're still looking for loot. Though that big bat is such a pain in the ass that I don't think that it is worth the race. risk. If you're just trying to win a regular run, I think it's worth doing. But in a race environment, I don't think it is. If you don't unlock the chest and fight the boss that comes out, he never stops showing up and locking the chest in the future, which ruins your loot a little bit. So what we have
here we are.
Careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
really doesn't want to trigger the key, so
couldn't use the spell there because of that. That's why they were doing that. There's the boss. Worm 1's dead. That's what I expect. Worm 2 is locked up in the corner. Can't even see him. He's just way over there. He's taking 11 damage a hit from this, like 6 times a cast. More. Dead. Wizard power. That's why. That's the order. No one's gonna kill the boss faster than that without Thunder Scrolls, I don't think. So that's 1559. That's where we stand.
What a good run.
Yeah.
That's 4 runs of Magic Castle.
Yeah, that's what we have today. So next week, we'll give co-op a shot. It also has versus mode, which is real bad. It's basically they drop us in the same room, and we can play the game regular if we want to, but also we can attack each other, and constantly stuff is raining down from the sky. I lost to Ty Tuesday because he got 2 resurrections, and then he stun locked me with the fighter because he got the warrior upgrade on top of that. I killed him 4 times or something, and he still won because I couldn't get a hold of the items that he did. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll be on later tonight playing Lama 2 and working on that. I'm getting somewhere. I'm further than I've been. I'm having a good time, actually, with it.
Fun with it now?
I've always had a pretty good time with Lama 2. I haven't had too many complaints. There's been a couple traps I don't like, but I am further than I've ever been, and that ultimately is like 15 hours in, but hey, something. I'll be on later doing that. Are you broadcasting anything?
I might. It's a little late, but I might do a little broadcast in a bit. I'm not sure what. Maybe another Hollow Knight randomizer.
Okay. Well, I'll see y'all later, folks. Thanks for joining me out the blues.
Take care.
I'm gonna find somebody to host in retro in the meantime. I'll see you. I'll probably be on in about an hour if you're interested in Lama 2, folks. And next week we'll see you for some more of this Magic Castle.